Hello, and welcome to the VR Untethered podcast, where we do awkward things with our eyes before we start talking.
It's just our trademark.
I'm Josh, this is Brad, on the other end there, and this is the VR Untethered podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great weekend.
It's been fun.
At the end of the show, you can have a great weekend.
Oh, but wait, and remember to subscribe and like. Do it now. Do it. Yeah. Trust us. Just do it now.
Get it out of the way now, rather than at the end of the show. Because that way, you won't forget to remember to not forget to remember to like and subscribe, and tell your friends up until they subscribe.
And if we happen to bore you into sleep this way, when we end the show, you won't have forgotten to subscribe and like us for giving you a good afternoon's rest. So.
Yes.
Should we talk about some VR?
Maybe we should start with our highlights of the week. Brad, I think your highlight of the week was having a high temperature.
True. This week has been as though every week hasn't been strange for the last month or two. This week was perhaps the strangest. I was running a fever that I told you earlier was competing with my ping rate in Echo. And
hopefully
bad timing.
The ping rate won, because it's a better one to have astronomical.
Yeah, I'm betting on the ping rate because I won't be here to collect otherwise. So I'm betting on the ping rate. I haven't really had a chance to do anything this week other than try and keep my fever down and get into the Echo Arena, which has become rather crowded this week.
Yeah.
As we moved into the kindergarten session of Echo Arena, and it went from a really nice closed beta game into Dead and Buried, where we now have to wait for the children to leave the room. Or we have to elevate ourselves to a level of play where they can't match us.
Or, as I think Michael pointed out in a Twitter comment on Eric for President's tweet about squeakers and screechers and young kids and all that. If we are positive to them and help them understand proper behavior, some many ways of them will learn and kind of get better. Whereas if everyone just avoids them or responds in kind, then they learn just respond in kind. Just to do that stuff because that's what people do. So, and that's another point also, but that's not why we're going into Echo. We're not going into Echo to be babysitters and trainers. So, it's like, well, yeah, you should be nice and courteous and helpful, but at the same time,
I don't want to play with a 12-year-old. Right. At the same time.
Unless it's a really good 12-year-old who is mature and knows how to play the game and all that. Yes, I know.
So, I guess this week is just not the same as it was the previous couple of weeks when people that had to know how to type were in the beta as opposed to just anybody who has a headset.
A lot of them do know how to type because they all use iPads and Chromebooks at school.
True.
They know how to hunt and peck.
But that is unfortunate. I have to say that is unfortunate. But I was reading in Reddit, everybody is saying that this is the biggest complaint they have. They love the game, hate the company, hate the people that are in there.
Right.
And right now, the only answer is private matches, which sort of splits the community before it can even start.
Your level progression.
Exactly.
Right.
So.
Or join a party that is large enough to result in a match with only the party members.
Right. Which is pretty much what you have to do. And then once again, you're basically creating a league. You're creating a team and a league at the same time without having people see who plays best to get. It's a little bit of a mess right now.
Well, yeah, it is. But if I remember right, they went through this or had similar things before in the past in the early days of the Rift version, and it sorted itself out eventually. So
well,
it'll
once
sort
again,
itself out eventually here too.
with the Rift version, I would say that not many 12-year-olds owned
Well,
Rifts.
not necessarily 12-year-olds and the young
Right.
kids,
Well,
although
that's
there were some, but this kind of behavior and trolling and to punch people in the head, grabbing people's genitals and whatnot, all that stuff, yes.
right.
Because let's be honest, unfortunately, so-called adults do that also.
Oh, it's true, but I mean that's just it. Is the game does allow for punching you in the head, and the game does allow
Not
for
though, but yeah,
whatever it allows for the
right,
physics you have to take
yeah,
into account. This is the game. It's like Quidditch. It's
right.
this is the game. So, but yeah, I think it's become less enjoyable for a little while now. It's
Well, yeah, it, it all depends. I mean, if you go into the lobby and you see only those people, you can either just not join HQ, you can start a public match, you can just practice in the mini arena sort of thing, and then as soon as someone comes up, you leave, or or whatever. Or you
right,
can send messages to your friends, say, "Hey, I'm playing, want to come? Should I come join?" Or
right.
but or you can take the time to play with them and remember that we were once beginners in the game also not that long ago and didn't know what to do. We had better behavior from the beginning, yes, but and help them learn what's appropriate and not appropriate, and
Well,
I know that's not necessarily what you initially signed up for the game for, but if it is what it is, then it is what it is, and it's not what it's not because it is what it is.
wow, a rose is a rose is a rose. Thank you, Gertrude. I appreciate that. Master of the obvious.
Yeah, way back in my linguistics uh, classes days, I had a semantics professor say that a tautology inherently has no meaning because it's A equals A. Well, yeah, because A is A, so it doesn't really have any meaning. But I pointed out, and he conceded the point that it can have meaning in a pragmatic way. Like you go to the store and you shoplift a pack of gum, and I chastise you for that. And you go, it's only a pack of gum. That's not like it's a real crime. And I reply with, a crime is a crime. It's a tautology, but it has meaning in that context.
That's
Right?
true, but I'm going to avoid the crime is a crime this week, being that the Justice Department doesn't seem to know whether or not they consider a guilty plea a crime.
Oh.
I'll avoid that one, but we can move
Well,
on.
no, I was just speaking only of what we were
Understood.
said the fact that I used the tautology. I'm just going off of that. That was an example of a tautology that has meaning. So
Okay.
now that
Plain
we have bored you with our high level college speak,
I'm sorry. Sorry. Getting back into the low level virtual reality speak where we all speak in single syllables, let's get to game
so,
good.
um, now that we've had your highlights, which is
I'm sorry.
a
Not
really enjoyable highlights. Let's see. I played some Echo VR. I finally got to try out Sansar. I checked out more of the VR chat virtual market, and I went to a VR chat, a dance club or two with live DJ music. I checked that out. I played some Virtual Battleground, and I got on the Westworld Awakening train, and I have been playing a little bit of that as well via Steam and VR, or in virtual desktop.
Right.
Shadow, I mean.
We figured it out. Well, those of us that know how
Shadow
you
and
do
virtual
that with the
desktop.
press. Exactly.
Using Steam
Downloaded
on,
Westworld to Shadow, and yes,
yeah.
via Steam, and gotcha.
I connect through Shadow to virtual desktop, which accesses Steam VR on the Shadow PC.
It's perfect. Isn't that why you bought a standalone headset, to be able to jump through 16 hoops to be able to play a game?
Yes.
Of course.
So, and I have to say, I have noticed the same thing you were talking about when it comes to Echo. I have had some good games though as well this week. I haven't been playing quite as much as I did last week, but there are still some good games to have. Like Tuesday night, the the day that they went into open beta, I got like a perfectly matched the game where it was so close. It was, like 1 point made the difference between winning and losing. So, and it was like 3 or 4 games in a row doing that. So, and then it started falling apart and more random stuff. But,
Right. But yeah, that
so
first night was great. The first
the
night, I
pub
agree
matches
with
for
you.
you. The
Right.
pub matches are hit and miss. But that one time matchmaking worked beautifully, and I was with people that were, I was like level 21. They went up to like level 28, and they were all above level 20. So we were all in the same skill level, and it was really well matched. And Sandstar, I wanted to try that out because I used to be a big Second Life user, and I know it's now owned by Wookiee, but I wanted to give it a try, and I had made an account for it ages ago, thinking that my laptop would be good enough to do the flat screen. It was not.
Sorry.
So, but I've checked it out. It is well done. It's got a very different looking feel to any of the other social VR apps. All the models and the world and whatnot feel really solid, and everything kind of has that, not really plasticky, but everything has a little bit of a shine to it, a sheen, a reflectiveness, that's not quite natural, but so it makes everything feel like it's a toy model rather than a cartoon or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. It gives it that plastic shell, basically, so it gives it the shine.
Right. So
it's more like a model than like you say, more like a model than an animation.
Right. So, and yesterday or the day before, I logged into the default the public arrival space, and there was a guy evidently performing an impromptu guitar performance, and there were tiny people and full-size people around him dancing and whatnot, and there was Gerald of Rivia in his wash basin with a baby Yoda in there with him as well.
Oh, no, stop. That was too much. Stop. Please. Please. Witcher was enough, man.
Their glow sticks, and we're
Now I know why you play the under. You have a strong tolerance for the absurd, so I salute you, sir.
And speaking of the absurd, VR Chat Virtual Market, there was one environment that I hadn't really checked out yet. One of the virtual marketplace environments. It's kind of a traditional looking Japanese village area. Like you'd see in an anime or an old school Japanese movie or whatever. And it's really well done. You come in, and then there's pops up kind of this anime cat spirit thing that kind of walks in the direction you're supposed to go, and then disappears. And then as you're walking in, there are these two giant statues of I think they'd probably be called ogres or whatever, and then they come to life and they move as you approach them, and they do like a pose change, So
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, and then you get to walk along and check out the little miniature environments people made and the avatars and all that. So it's fun. And virtual battlegrounds, always fun to be shooting those 12-year-olds.
Especially if you've been in Echo for a while. Come on and meet me over in
It's not only
virtual
12-year-olds in that, but there are some in that too. So
right.
And it's still fun, except for when you get killed by your own squad mate because they don't know how squads work.
Okay.
Or they just wanted so the gun had picked up and they didn't know how to speak English and say, hey, can I have that?
Oh, well, I suppose it does get the job done. It's really rough on the person who had the gun. But, take the good with the bad, Josh.
Yeah. I was literally going, dude, I'm on your team. Stop. Okay, I'm dead. Never mind.
That's not a good thing. Teammates should definitely support teammates.
Yeah.
In the future, if any of you aren't aware, support your local teammate.
Yeah. And what's ironic is he's the one who asked me to join his squad. He sent me an invite to join his squad. I didn't send him one, and he joined. It was the other way around. So, and then
he wanted your gun. He didn't invite you to have you. He wanted your gun.
Well,
sounds like
I get the gun after the game starts. So,
well, he had to get you in somehow.
So, anyways, and I checked out Westworld Awakening as well. It works. It can be a little jittery, a little laggy because it's pretty intensive on the graphics. So if my wife and son are both streaming stuff, it can bog it down a little bit, and the performance is hit just a little bit.
Right.
And it also doesn't help that Shadow currently has a 30-minute idle timer, so you have to periodically move things on the Shadow PC desktop. Have to move your mouse, have to click, have to whatever periodically, otherwise it goes, you're idle. We're going to shut it off. And you're in the middle of the game, and then all of a sudden...
Okay. So basically, you have to set up...
have to not get too engrossed in the game, and remember to periodically hold down the menu button on your controller to bring up the virtual desktop menu, and then just to click around on the desktop. Or you have one of these in your pocket, and you to periodically, and click and whatnot.
I was going to say, I think I would set it up to some sort of yo-yo that had a string and a timer and pulled it back and forth every 20 minutes or so I could...
Well, also, technically, any automated thing that you are using to bypass that is against terms of service, and if you are caught using it,
an electric yo-yo.
It's because you are doing VR, which is you are actively using it. It's just not registering that as actively using it.
So in other words, you must break your immersion. That's part of their deal. In order to use Shadow, you must break your immersion. Sign here. That's part of our terms of service.
Yes. Yeah, basically.
Perfect.
But that's only because of the current increase in people signing up and activations and all that because of the COVID lockdown.
Oh,
So
and not because of the
presumably,
fact.
at some point, they're gonna either just fix that so that the VR user it gets registered as using it, or they're gonna lift that because now they don't need that throttle anymore because they've expanded enough that they are handling it. So it's supposed to be a temporary thing. But
I have to say that the timing of actually decreasing your price while increasing the quality of the product that you're supposed to be providing during a time when you're going to have the pandemic, marketing and sales weren't really working hand in hand here. I have to say that there was a bit of a disconnect. And it's sort of like the release of Iron Lights, a multiplayer game that you need somebody else to play against who's now over in Echo Arena. And we'll hopefully be back someday.
Well, Iron Lights had no control over that.
No, I know. I'm just saying the timing.
They had just as much an idea of the Echo Arena timeline as we did.
That's true. That's true. Or they did. True. Echo didn't have much of it.
Yeah. So, anyways, now that we're done with the highlights and moving on to newer. Well, actually, I forgot to put in the notes, but I did get Let's Create Pottery VR, and I did get Dojagi on Steam as well. Dojagi is available on Rift as well, and that would have given me a better experience. But it's also $10 more than it is on Steam. So I went with the Steam version because I've never, sounds like if I'm going to have a problem with refunding any of them, I want to have it be a cheaper one that I have a problem with, you know?
Of course.
So,
but it's not the same experience.
Well, no, they're not the same experience between the two apps. I mean, Steam and Dojagi, Steam and Rift, probably roughly the equivalent. It's just the virtual desktop can tie in directly to Oculus, so it would technically be better because it's not emulating on top of an emulator, Yeah. It'll be one emulator rather than two, But the two apps, Let's Create Pottery and Dojagi, are the same genre of apps. There's a career mode and there's a do whatever you want mode in both of them, and you are creating pottery. You're buying various things from their storage to make it better, make it easier, make more complicated stuff, whatever. Let's Create Pottery. You only have one hand, and you to click the trigger and pull up to make it get taller, click and pull out to make it get wider, just push in to make it shorter or narrower, and you have one hand the whole way, so you'd go like pull out here, push in, pull back out, just to get a shape like this. In Dojagi, you have two hands, and you use both of the triggers to do any actions of shaping the clay. So you have a bowl of water. You need to get your hands wet in the bowl of water, and then you have a pedal over here to change the speed of the wheel.
Mhm.
And if you approach from the sides, your hands will lock on to the clay when you are close enough, and then you just push both of the triggers, and now you can
Actually shape it like you
right to
would
push
in
in
pottery.
and right.
And the same with hollowing out. Can you hollow
Yeah,
out the same
and
way?
it's the same thing with going on the top. You come down like this, and when you get s- close enough, it locks in, and then you push both of the controllers, and you can hollow it out on the top like that,
Hmm.
concave it, you know. And then it's got one other gesture where you have one on the side, one on the top, and
Oh, for a bend.
right, and so that's to do that to expand it out or whatever.
Right.
So that one's a little tricky. I keep having issues with it where I got it mostly how I want, but I need it out a little bit, and I do that, and it's all of a sudden like,
Just like real pottery.
yeah, no doubt.
That's,
Um,
that's exactly what
but
happens in real pottery.
yeah, it's got more of a learning curve, and it's more of a simulator as I
Right.
was expecting, and you have to periodically go re-wet your hands. And when you paint, you have a brush, and you actually paint with the brush. That's not just point and click a line like it is, and that's great pottery PR. And then when you have a laser pointer coming out of your hand, and it highlights a band around the pot where the color is going to go, and then depending on how long you hold the trigger down, it's a very light coat of the color or a very heavy coat of the color.
Okay.
So, you know,
And they have the metallics and
you
all of the different.
and the other it is still spinning on the wheel, and you actually apply it with a paintbrush.
So much cooler.
Right, and you can also take it off of the wheel and hand paint a pattern directly on it as well, so that you want a star here and nowhere else. Okay, paint a star or whatever. Less Gray Pottery doesn't have individual painting like that. It's only got the full band to color
Right.
painting, and it's got stamps basically that you can add on as well. And it's got handled and decorations. Um, Dojagi offers tools as well because it's only so deep you can hollow it out with your thumbs. But if you have a tool, you can hollow it out more.
Okay.
And you can use the tool on the outside as well to trim it, smooth it out. Um,
Sounds like a much better program to simulate pottery.
well, yeah. Well, one is an arcade version basically, and the other is a simulator version. Uh,
Right.
Let's Create Pottery is much easier. So if all you want is a make cool things and you don't want to put a lot of work into it, that's the one for you. If you'd rather have a simulator where you actually end up learning some skills, the Dojagi would be better.
I would imagine that you could create more personalized pieces because
Right,
it gives you more options. So,
right, and has got some engraving tools also, so you can, after it's dried, you can kind of carve into it and put a signature on the bottom or whatever, you know.
okay, so yeah, like I said, it sounds much more complete, but
Yeah,
the other one, like you
and
said, sounds like a coloring book, actually.
right, and you can export your creations as actual 3D models.
That's what I was going to ask, because that would be the key.
Right.
That would be super cool. Of
Right.
course, actually doing the coloring might be a little difficult, but
Yeah.
yes, the reproduction of the shape would be.
Right. Well, I've seen in the reviews that some people mentioned that on the export, the, the textures for the colors, I'm guessing, are like not on it, but they're
Right, it
off
would
it
have to be.
or something, you know. So it's
A
there
skin.
there would be some the cleanup work that would have to be done afterwards,
Right.
after the export. So
Understood. Yeah, it would have to be, because it's a skin. It's not part of the actual shape unless you
right,
bake it into the vertices, and then, yeah, nobody's going to do that. So,
right. So yeah. Um, so but yeah, and Let's Create Pottery is 1999. Dojagi on Steam is 1999. On Rift is 29.99. I'm not quite sure why the $10 price increase there.
Facebook,
I don't know, but
they seem to well, it's the same thing with every game. I mean, if it's on the Quest, it has the Quest tariff.
right. So, anyways,
Facebook is now going that way with Rift too. So,
yeah. So now let's go to the new releases.
Phew.
We
Okay.
have 3 official new releases on the Oculus Quest to be talking about. We have Felix and Paul Studios, we have Audio Trip, and we have Jurassic World by Felix and Paul.
Right. Felix and Paul took up 2/3 of the
Yes.
new releases.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why they broke it up into 2 apps. Maybe theme, or maybe if they had all the videos in one app, it'd be too big a download, or I don't know. But basically, Felix and Paul Studios has 4, I believe, of the videos that they've had out before on the Gear VR and the Go. And Jurassic World has their Hepatosaurus encounter and their Jurassic World Blue videos. So,
which was already available, like Josh said, on the Go, and
right. They're
the best as far as.
But if you've already done them on the Go and the Gear VR, I don't think they're any better on the Quest. I've heard that it's basically the exact same experience, because it's a 360 video. It's basically
exactly. So. Might run a little smoother.
Right. Right, yeah, it might run a little smoother or whatever, or might not make the headset hot like it did on the Go or whatever, but
it's
the same experience.
Yeah. So, and Felix and Paul really do the best as far as so far.
They're well done. I mean, I showed the Hepatosaurus one to my nephew, who was, I know, probably going to get bad comments about this, but I think he was like 6 at the time, and he there's like a can of pop in the scene. He was trying to reach out and actually grab the can of pop with the Gear VR.
So you can imagine, right? So it's probably a very good experience. If you've never done it before, I'm sure it's an excellent experience on the Quest.
Oh yeah, they are very good experiences. If you have not done it before, I would recommend getting them. They are both free apps. What's not a free app, however, is Audio Trip.
Right.
However, it's a lot less than the big Beat Saber app.
True. However, it's very rarely compared to Beat Saber as much as it's compared to Synth Rider.
Yes, it's kind of like a cross between Synth Riders and Beat Saber, actually, because it's got the rails that you hold on to and whatnot, but it's also got directional on the notes. So you have to come this way, or you have to go that way, or up or down.
Right.
Whereas in synth writers, you can come at the note from any direction as long as you are on the note when the note is supposed to be hit.
Right.
So, but in this, in Audio Trip, they have arrows on there indicating which way you need to hit it from. So, in that respect, it's kind of a combination of the two. It's got the directional stuff.
And it'll auto map any music that you download into your MP3 folder or from YouTube, according to.
I think you're thinking Audio Shield.
Oh, I am. I'm sorry.
Yes. This is. I mean, so this might have.
It does
have that as well, but I don't believe it does.
I think so. That's what I thought the big thing about this was when I was just reading the write-up when they released it.
Audio Shield.
People complained that but people complained that Audio Shield wasn't doing it well.
Right. Audio Trip, I believe all the songs in there right now were manually done. However, there was a story recently that I forgot to put in the news, so we'll just talk about it right now. A story recently about a deep learning, machine learning thing that has actually produced, I believe, a good custom map.
Okay.
To a song, and I think right now it only does Beat Saber, but I'm not sure. It could probably be adapted to other apps because they're all kind of the same format. Just some of them don't do the directional stuff like synth writers, so all the directional would just go to left or right to the positions,
Right.
So
I'm just looking up Audio Trip to see if it mentions
it's a machine learning way of doing it, basically. And I don't think Audio Trip does the auto map stuff.
Okay, Audio Trip says make it your audio trip by using the InVR level editor to create custom choreographies with your own unique dance moves with the same tool used by the developers to create the choreography.
Yeah. So in other words, rather than going to a website or downloading an app on your computer, you're doing it there and then transferring that to the Quest, you can do it natively within the app.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a cool feature. Yeah. I mean, people are saying that the people that have used it so far seem to really like it, but I think everybody is trying to figure which rhythm game do you want to play because
we have a surplus of them right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we only have one member of a group that we deal with who seems to be into every rhythm game, and that's good.
He'll probably get this one, yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And he will report on the battery life
at 10% brightness, which definitely will give you an extra 3 minutes on that quest. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I don't know what to do about this one, to be very honest with you. I have synth writers. I have Beat Saber.
I haven't got it yet myself. If it had come out earlier, I probably would have gotten it. But frankly, I've got enough rhythm games for me right now. And if I do get another one, it's going to be Beat Saber because that's what my son and my wife want. So
you don't have the Beat? Yeah, Beat Saber is a great game. I have to say, everybody. Really? Of all of them,
I'm going to be getting it at some point. It was my wife had just had shoulder surgery.
Oh,
Had tendon pinned and some her bone spurs shaved. So
not a good time for
and
Beat Saber.
yeah, right. So I was gonna wait until she was ready,
Mhm.
or ready enough that it could be part of her physical therapy, to practicing range of motion stuff. You know.
No, it'll be great for that, but yeah, that's a
Yeah,
rough one to jump into at
yeah,
this point.
yeah.
But
So
of all of
until
them,
she is ready, I haven't gotten it yet. So it's something
shortest learning curve.
she's working towards. You know.
Beat Saber is definitely the shortest learning curve, very
Yeah.
polished. They're introducing new environments all the time. I really have to say I like it. But then again, Synth Riders really captured me much more than I ever thought that it would. It's
Well, yeah,
also great.
yeah, it's a great game, and it is as active and as much of a workout as you want it to be.
Exactly.
You can have it on normal mode, which is you just have to have your hands in the right position, or you can have it force mode, where the speed you are going when you hit it gives you more points.
Right.
So that makes it more like Beat Saber, only you get to choose which direction. So, you know, if you got 4 notes in a row, boom, 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 you can go boom, 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 you know,
Right.
any combination. So,
Exactly. And it also makes you move a lot more than Beat Saber,
yeah.
unless you're playing 360. I won't
Well,
say
yeah.
anything about 90 and 360. Those are
Yeah.
crazy. But the
Yeah.
shields that come at you, the walls that come at you in Synth Riders is definitely gets you to move. And that's what
Yeah.
they're saying in Audio Trip as well, that you're actually dancing.
Right. Right. Audio Trip is supposed to, and by design, kind of get you dancing to the song, because the movement that you have to do kind of leads you into that naturally, so you'll find yourself doing it.
Unlike Audica, which we have all found out is something that is indescribable because it's really not a rhythm game, although they
Well,
gauge
it
your
is a rhythm
score.
game. It's just not. It's just not a fitness rhythm game.
Okay. It's it's unique. Let's put it that way. It
Well,
is
yeah,
unique because the shooting is great and you do have to get into the rhythm to get the flow going, but
right,
it's only your arms. And
right.
unless they give you something impossible task like, don't look at the note while you're shooting
Yeah,
it,
I
uh,
know,
crazy stuff, like really just like
I know, and I don't like that they consider a note that's right at the edge of my vision to be my vision still. I'm like, really? I gotta go,
yeah,
you know?
that's pretty much the only way it does. And that's what I mean is it's nice when it makes it fun. It's not nice when it just makes it
Yeah,
ridiculously
yeah.
hard.
I kind of avoid those modifiers in
But it kills the
the
campaign
campaign.
mode. Right, but it
Yeah,
kills the campaign because then you
yeah.
can't do that song. You have to move on to something else that's a little more normal. And
Right. And it's not that it's a bad song that the modifier's on. It's just so that
that
modifier is,
modification.
is annoying, and it's not a fun one.
No, I
So,
don't see
in
the
my
point.
opinion,
I really don't see the point. Are they really trying to teach you to shoot blind? I mean, I don't know. It's
I don't know. I mean, if I'm at a gun range and I'm gonna shoot blind, I might aim and then, you know, just turn my head a little bit so it's in my peripheral, so that's not looking at it. No, I'm looking there. You
right,
know.
but not according to
Right.
Audica.
Right.
Oh no,
I've
no,
got to
no.
be like,
Right.
you know.
So,
Um, that reminds me though, there was something that I forgot to mention about Let's Create the Pottery, which was the biggest, although still minor, gripe that I had with Let's Create Pottery was, in real life, my hand was pointed like this. In the game, my hand was pointed like this.
huh. That's
If you
awful.
Yeah. If you watch some of the gameplay videos where they've got them on the camera, so you can see them and the in-game, if you're watching for it, you can actually notice it. Like I was watching a video by Dave the Psycho. Yeah. As Nathan likes to say it on their podcast. He was playing it, and you can see his hand in the camera, like this, but in the game, his hand's like this. So there's like, that big of an angle difference.
Wow, 35 degree, almost 45-degree angle. That's a
Yeah,
lot.
it's a pretty big, it's a big angle difference. I mean, at the very beginning, you have to click start, which is a big vase in front of you, and I point right at it. I'm like, why is it not highlighting? Then I move my hand more to the right. Oh, now it's highlighting, but it's like right here, and it's like coming.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very good.
I mean, you get used to it, and I did a little experimenting, and I found that if I went like this, it was lined up perfectly. So I kind of.
That's a 30 degree. That's solid
Yeah,
30 to 40
yeah,
degree.
yeah. I kind of think that they are basing the ray casting from the shoulder.
Right.
So when I'm pointing, if you look, technically my shoulder is that far away from where my hand is. That's the only thing I can think.
I don't. Wow, that's weird because you would think that they would make it based on your hand position, not your shoulder position.
Yeah.
Just
well, yeah. I mean, I can understand them using the shoulder for hand tracking. That makes sense. But when you have
the controller with
a
the ring,
controller where you know exactly where it is,
right?
You don't need to base it off of this.
Right, and it's not like you're going to be literally throwing pottery and bringing it behind your head, so the tracking has to be adjusted for it. It's like maybe they got the term throwing pottery a little wrong, and somebody has to correct that.
I don't know. Or maybe this means that they are preparing for a hand tracking update, and they'll be introducing hand tracking at some point. So they're just anticipating now. I'm basing it off of the shoulder. I don't know.
I'm still waiting for Wizard of the Waltz hand tracking. So,
you mean Waltz of the Wizard?
Waltz of the Wizard. No, isn't that what I said? Wizard of the Waltz?
You said Wizard of the Waltz.
Okay, it's been a long week. We already discussed
this.
So
anyways, moving on with the rest of the new releases. We had Echo VR coming to open beta this week. Yay. Ooh, because of the kids
to take a vacation.
Have we already discussed?
Right. So if you want to go in there and level up, that's good, right? If you want to level up against newbies, that's good, but you're going to have to mute a lot of people.
Yep, we had the Aspire 1 assimilation update, which is new content. However, I played it and I discovered that there are still some bugs in it.
Oh man, that's crazy. That was what they were supposed to be fixing, was the bugs.
I know. Well, I went through the one of the original mission levels where you first encounter the Jacobson drone or whatever, and you have to sneak past it. Well, I'm walking down the hallway before I actually encounter it, and the little drones spot me through the wall, and then they come through the wall into the corridor where I am, and I've got to take them out before I can move on.
Oh man!
And in the new content, there was some shooting through the wall, so that happened. and
So
whatnot. So yeah,
basically, instead of being called Espire, it should have been called Aspire, and the game could have reached its aspiration as opposed to
maybe
its inspiration.
so. But the new updates are fun. It provides more content to be playing through and whatnot, and a lot of things are working better. Not everything is, but
Well,
a
they
lot
said
of.
there'd be another update.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've come to expect, unfortunately, that Aspire One will never be bug free.
No,
I
probably
would
not.
like for it to be, but it probably won't be.
Right. Some games start out with the best of intention, but the bug must be so deeply involved in the game that there is no way to correct it and still be able to play.
Right. So we also have Hand Physics Lab come out so finally on SideQuest. This is where you are using hand tracking, and they are using physics in the game. So instead of going through the wall with your ghost hand, you stop on the wall while your real hand keeps moving.
Interesting.
Well, obviously, once you see your hand
You're
to
supposed to
stop,
stop, right?
your real hand is going to stop. You're not. You're going to just go, huh. Unless you're playing around in the lab and testing. Right. But in the game, you go, oh, okay. I bring it back to where it's supposed to be. So, but it's supposed to be really fun. I haven't had a chance to test it out yet because yesterday there was a lot of internet usage, and in my big play space that I would be using for it, too many TV screens going. One TV
It's too
screen.
many.
Yeah. So that would have thrown it off every time I looked in that direction.
Gotcha.
My hands would have gone like.
Every time like they're doing contractors or an echo when you put your controller down and your hands become Terminator arms. Yeah.
Right.
So, at least you don't get the contractor jiggle.
Yeah. We also had an update to wands come out just yesterday or just today, I forget which. They are. You now have the ability to set a difficulty level to the AI when you are not doing multiplayer against an actual person, but against their AI bot. You can set the difficulty level from easy to, oh my goodness, he's going to kill me.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good for practice.
The official name of it.
Okay. I've played that setting on other games.
There are map updates. Several of the maps have new tiles and whatnot, so it will change up the gameplay and the strategies used on those maps, which is always good for a game like this where everybody becomes so sad and everybody uses the same strategies over and over again.
I noticed nobody changes their wands.
So this spell now costs a little bit more, does a little bit less damage, and this spell costs a little bit less, does a little bit more damage. The things to change a little bit in there all the time as they tweak the balances. So
well, for a game like that, like you said, it's good. Like you said, for that kind of game, you would get stale after a while. Otherwise, you have the same moves and you become Michael Odette. And,
Yeah. Speaking of Michael Odette, he was involved in the beta for this update.
I'm sure of it.
Into the beta for this update, so directly from him on this update.
I can't even think of Wizards without thinking of Michael Odette at this point. It's like the content creator for Wizards. But
wands. But yeah, also
that wizard is still waltzing.
Yes, I know. Waltzing with his wand named Matilda.
I thought his wand was named Wanda.
No. Waltzing Matilda.
Yes, but wasn't she a kangaroo?
Right?
Yeah.
I know. I'm showing my age now,
I think both of us.
huh? So, also, I think just yesterday, Megalith came out on Steam VR. That is a VR MOBA game, multiplayer online battle arena. So, it like uh, DOTA, Overwatch, League of Legends, Paladins, all those kind of games. You are a hero of some sort. I think it's not called hero in this game though, which is probably a good thing because that's kind of getting overused. Yeah, but uh, you have special powers and abilities, and the two teams of four or whatever, and all that. It's set up like a MOBA, but it is in VR, and it is 1999. I have not checked it out yet. I am considering it as I do enjoy that kind of game, and we don't have any on the Quest yet. So
That's true. That is, which is kind of strange. You
I
would
know,
think,
right? I mean, that's a huge genre of games, and if they got a League of Legends Quest version, if
oh
they
my
got
God,
a DOTA Quest version, Overwatch,
I know.
that you know,
I don't get
everyone
it.
buying it probably. So
I know. I don't understand why they haven't done it. Because for sure, seeing what they can run on the Quest, you could
I
run
know,
those games on the Quest, no
yeah,
problem.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if my laptop can run Paladins, which admittedly is not the a top of the line to game of that nature, surely the Quest would be able to run something like that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
So I'm really surprised that they
yeah,
don't have anything native on the Quest like that. Because
right.
I would think that would be even a bigger draw than Echo at the beginning.
Yeah. However, Hyperdash, which is on
Side Quest, right?
SideQuest at present, but is coming, I believe, to the official store at some point. It does have some MOBA-like modes, if I remember right, but it's still not. Uh, uh, I mean, it's got to capture and hold the central point, all that kind of stuff, but it's still not quite a MOBA. It's got some MOBA aspects to it and some of the game modes. So,
Right. Well, yeah, they've yet to create the perfect multiplayer game yet. And
right.
I guess Echo is the closest they've come so far on the Quest to perfect.
True.
Although Dead and Buried 2 is excellent since their last update, I have to
Right.
say, really, really good. Some of their games just don't hold up to the multiplayer. I'm not sure why.
Right. I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, w- we have an upcoming title this week, and I think there's another one, but I forgot what it was. My bad. If you
No.
remember, if you had an upcoming title, please let us know in the comments, and we will pin that comment or whatever. Um, but we have Mini Motor Racing X coming out next week. That's kind of like Blaze Rush was on the Gear VR
That's what it
and the
seems
Go.
like.
It's got more Micro Machine style graphics, but it's kind of like Blaze Rush was. Except it looks like you can also drop down into a first person view and have your controllers acting like a steering wheel, which would be kind of crazy because you're not actually holding one.
Right, I know. That's going to be like holding the gun without a gun stock
I
in some
know, right?
games.
But it looks like it'll probably be fun as well. However, in the live stream that Gamertag VR did of it, his comments were full of Echo VR, Echo VR. Echo VR reminds me of Rocket League. Echo VR was great. I finally got to play Echo VR.
Oh God, yeah, that's.
So it might end up eclipsed by Echo VR.
I think everything is. Let's face it. For a while, we're going to be talking about games that nobody's going to be playing because they're just going to be doing echo.
Yeah.
And if you want to be in competitive, you have to be playing it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're not in competitive, it's free and the most fun you're going to have with the Quest. So,
Right. Now, Mini Motor Racing X does have a Rocket League game mode where you are pushing a giant ball around with your cars. And again, it looks like you can be third person looking down or first person in the car doing it. So,
but a game like that, really, third person is the way to play if you want to win. First person is what to do if you want
probably.
to experience it.
Yeah, it's a better situational awareness with a third person view
Right.
where you can see where all the other cars are around you at all times.
Well, what they did with Blaze Rush was amazing. On the go, Blaze Rush was one of the most fun
Yeah,
games and graphically intensive and all of it.
yeah,
So if they're able to make this game on the Quest be anything like that,
yeah,
Quest
yeah.
style.
I really enjoyed Blaze Rush until it stopped working on my Gear VR. Um, it would be like the screen instead of here, it'd be like you're down here, and if I went to look at it, it would
Go even further, huh?
it would be moving with me. So I'm like I can't click on anything, you know.
Yeah, that would definitely ruin it for sure. Blaze Rush was a pretty quick game. That was
Yeah,
definitely a
yeah.
game of reflex. Which with that Go controller
Well, no,
was
I mean that the menu to get into the game,
right.
not in the middle of a race having it to be down there, but
Just to get in.
the main menu.
Wow.
So
I haven't tried
that is,
Blaze Rush in a while. I don't know if it's working on the go or not anymore. So
it should be, yes, as far as I know. But yeah, I have no clue. Anyways, moving on to news because this show is now getting long in the tooth at 1 hour and 1 minute. SideQuest came out with bad news and good news that was the same news, but it's both good and bad.
correct.
Because no good news is good news.
As Gary
Unless it is
used to
good
say.
news, in which case it's not no good news. It's only good news.
You're scaring the people, Josh. You're scaring them.
SideQuest announced that they are going closed source. Now, I know that sounds bad because a lot of us are pro open source and we're pro open and we're pro everybody being able to chip in and help and whatnot, and that is a good thing. However, people have been abusing their open sourceness and they've been forking SideQuest. And if you are new to the world of open source and software, that all that means is that they branched off and made a different version of it that they didn't just add to the official version. They made their own version of it, and they are enabling piracy because they are bypassing content restriction, had DRM checks and entitlement checks, with SideQuest. As much as we love it, it is kind of walking a narrow line that it has to stay on, or Oculus will stop. So kind of partnering with them and helping them out and being okay with them.
Right.
They can't allow piracy, which I'm all for. I'm all for not allowing piracy. So that's why they are going closed source so that people can't fork off of them and tarnish their name because they're calling it a SideQuest version.
Right.
So,
oh man, that's really terrible when people
yeah,
abuse a situation like that. So, well,
yeah.
I guess they had to make it closed source in order to stay viable.
Yeah. It's a kind of sad news because I prefer open source, but at the same time, I completely understand and respect their decision. It makes sense,
They keep coming down on the side of, okay, we're not going to be a pirate site. And
Right.
that's
And
exactly where they should be.
I mean, if you really want to pirate a game, you can learn how to sideload just through ADB.
Exactly.
You don't You know.
You don't have to make it so easy. Exactly. You can
Yeah,
work for it a
yeah,
little.
and for what it's worth, I am against pirating games. Yeah, you know, if I can't afford a game, well, then I don't have the game. You know.
Right.
However, one instance that's kind of a gray area is if you have a game that was on the Gear VR and you own it, but it's not on Quest, and Oculus seems to have stopped their converting Go apps to run on there. I don't think there's anything legally wrong with taking it off of your Gear VR or your Go and bringing it over to the Quest.
There shouldn't be.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but that's not technically privacy. That's just moving it to a different location.
Exactly. You're just using it on a different platform or whatever. So yeah.
Right. But that could also be considered a legal gray area because of the EULA and whatnot, you know,
Right.
and there's a license agreement saying this is a license to you on this machine only, you know,
I know. I know. I know. I know. Um,
which is technically not a legal thing to say because you're allowed to make a backup. So,
exactly.
but
So
that's
right.
beyond the
Nothing
scope
makes
of this
sense.
show.
Exactly. I was going to say, I mean, the other thing to mention though is, especially on this show, which is about VR, piracy is very bad because
Yeah,
we really need people to want to make these games better
yeah,
and we want these companies to grow.
yeah.
So if they can give you Echo VR for free,
Yep.
take it gratefully and don't start stealing other games. You know,
Right.
please.
Yeah.
Okay, next piece of
And
news.
in other news, Wizard of the Walt is introducing telepath movement.
Thanks, Josh. I
I
didn't
had
feel bad enough. That
uh,
waltzing wizard, man. Um,
yes, in this movement style, you get to dance with Matilda
and the
down
Billabong.
by the billabong with the kangaroo watching. No, it's
Actually,
sorry. Go ahead.
okay, it is a very interesting transport mechanism to be used with
Yeah,
hand control.
yeah,
And it seems to be the first one that's actually usable and not difficult to initiate in games that already exist. So
right.
basically, you create a path which you can either walk along or
Or
teleport along.
interrupt at any time.
Right,
And if you make a running gesture, you
speed up.
speed up along it. So it sounds like it's a workable solution. I don't think it would be a workable solution for, say, a first-person shooter game, but hand tracking itself is not a workable solution for a first-person shooter game yet.
Yet.
It's not reliable enough and fast enough yet. Because I can't tell you how many times just going through the menus, I'm moving my hand at that speed, and it's like, you know,
Yeah, the
it lags
lag and the
behind.
latency is
Right, right.
just not
It
there
is
yet.
noticeable, so I can't move too quickly. I've got to move slow, and then especially when I want to do a pinch click thing, I gotta, if my hand is doing this at all, it'll throw it off.
Right.
Um, um, Speaking of, I attended a webinar that was a sales pitch for a course on developing hand tracking games, and they were saying that hand tracking precision. You can't have a target to push or to pick up or whatever that's smaller than an inch,
Hmm.
because otherwise you have too much trouble trying to pick it up or to interact with it. So um, all of the virtual objects that you would be interacting with your hand tracking have to be
At
an
least
inch
2 inches.
or more in
Right.
size. So,
Okay.
whereas with a controller, because it's
Doesn't matter.
much more accurate, you can have like a quarter of an inch or less or whatever, So,
Your hitbox is much smaller.
right. So, um, in other words, hand tracking right now is much less accurate than using a controller. It's slower because of the lag of the latency. So right now, it's only good for games like Waltz of the Wizard, or say a puzzle game, or something. So it's something where fast action is not needed.
And even Waltz of the Wizard has some scenes where there is fast
Yeah,
action needed. So
yeah, yes. So we'll see.
that Matilda, she's a heck of a dancer.
I know, right? I hear
Next
she's real good
Sunday.
at the tango too.
Ooh, you don't even want to get me started on that one.
Speaking of tangoing, we have various patents and demos coming out from Sony lately.
Oh man, tons.
There was a demo of an index-like controller where you hold it here and it's got like a tracker. A tracker thing here, and it was just showing all sorts of finger tracking to stuff on it, and showing that if you're wearing a wedding ring, it can account for that and still track accurately, and it's using machine learning and all this stuff to be able to accurately track and predict what the fingers are doing. And I just saw this morning that there was a patent for eye tracking and face tracking that they have. Probably not all of this stuff is going to be in the PlayStation VR 2. Some of it's going to be further down the road, but it just goes to show they are still very much in the game. They are still very much invested in it, and they are improving it. And it sounds like pretty soon the PS Move controllers are going to be a thing of the past, even for the VR headset.
Yeah, well, that's good. The Move controllers are.
Yeah, not the greatest.
No, never were.
Yeah,
Really, never were. But the controllers look weird. It almost looked like they were being balanced on the hand, but Sony has put out so many different patents in the last several months.
Yeah.
I think they're all just trying. Whenever they have an idea that might work, they just throw the patent on it.
That's the way a lot of the companies to do it is if they come up with an idea, they patent it, even if they never use the idea, so they've got to patent it.
Exactly, and they can make money if somebody else uses it.
Right, exactly. We also have Abe coming to Quest.
Oof, Abe was scary enough on the go.
A psychological horror experience. So no release date yet, as far as we know, but it's supposed to be coming. There was a tweet saying, "I'm coming for you," or something like that.
Yeah, Abe will fix you.
Oh, okay.
Well, if you've ever played, did you play the original Abe on the go?
No, but I did read up on it. It had basically an android looking for love in all the wrong places in a horrifying way.
Oh my God. It was the first time that I actually freaked out in VR. Abe's not a fun guy. Abe's definitely fixated, and you don't want to meet Abe, especially in a dark corridor.
Right. So, but yeah, so that is something we have to be afraid of. I mean, look forward to coming to Quest at some point.
At some point, coming soon to neighborhood
dark alleyway near you.
Right. If you hear somebody say, "I will fix you," just run. Just take my word for it. Run.
In other news, the past couple of days, I didn't get a chance to attend this, and I kind of regret that I didn't get a chance to. Students in XR conference just happened in Altspace and Engage, etc., where students were sharing how they teach other students and teachers how to use VR. So this was an opportunity for the students to get a shot at being the teachers and learning, I guess, kind of the teachers end of things and having a greater appreciation for that, as well as sharing knowledge that they know of how to use VR, how to use it for teaching, etc.
Right.
I believe one of the highlights in one of the presentations was in Engaged, I believe, a young tilt brush artist was being interviewed by I forget who, and VR Rosie was in the audience, but disguised or whatever, or she didn't know she was in the audience, and then all of a sudden she was teleported up to the couch next to the young VR artist, just by the interviewer as a surprise, like you'd see on Ellen or whatever, So.
And for those of you not familiar with Rosie, she is probably the most innovative VR artist out there that's around right now, and tilt brush for sure.
She is amazing, very good at what
she was born at the right time. Tilt brush didn't exist for her before then, so yeah, she's a masterwork, definitely.
Yeah. And to close off our show, is hand tracking soon to come out of beta for the Quest? People are discussing that maybe it is because signs are pointing to yes. There was a survey that went out recently in my email, and presumably a lot of other people's emails also, that's all about hand tracking. Last time I got a survey asking about specific things like that, National Geographic came out with the Machu Picchu update.
Right. I know that, and look, they're working on it, but like you said, it's just not quite there.
It requires enough lighting and enough of the right kind of lighting. My biggest problem with it is if the TV is going. However, if they could fix the problem with the Christmas tree lights and the Quest controllers, I am sure they can come up with a way to fix hand tracking with the TV in the background. There has got to be a way. Because a lot of people had their tracking messed up at Christmas time because of the Christmas tree lights in the background. Every time they turned and they faced the tree, their controllers would be like, "Whoa, I'm over there! No, I'm here!"
Yeah, and that was a definite oversight on their part. Hopefully, to be corrected in the new controllers from the Del Mar version of the Quest.
But personally, I like hand tracking, but various apps do good at it or do bad at it. It doesn't work the same in all apps across the board. And I know some people in our Discord have pointed out that you can adjust the sensitivity, and I don't know if that's something I can adjust as a user or if that's something the developers can adjust in the game.
Right.
Because I know one thing that's really annoying is when you're trying to manipulate something and your hand disappears, and you have to find the right angle to bring it back.
Don't you hate when that happens?
Right.
I hate when my hand disappears.
And there are the sensitivity settings so that it stays there, even though the tracking software is not 100% sure where it is. No, it's still 85% sure is right there, but it could be over here. But I'm gonna say that it's there because that's 85% sure.
Well, let's face it. Who's gonna say they don't want hand tracking?
By default, it's like 95%. 100%. So if it's at all unsure that it's here, it just takes it away.
That's right. That's something they have to fix before they can
Right.
call it anything other than an experiment.
Right. I mean, part of what makes Echo Arena so good on the Quest is you can take your hand behind your back where the camera can't see it, and you don't lose the tracking of the controller because they are using an excellent prediction algorithm of what you are intending to do.
Right.
And then to bring it back out, and it's instantly where you expect it to be. 98% of the time. Occasionally it messes up, but 98% of the time is exactly where you expect it to be when you bring it back around. And so the software can to fix a lot of these issues where the camera can't really see if this is your hand or a flesh colored wallpaper or
and Oculus is just going to have to put out
prediction and machine learning and all that stuff and make it better. So
right. Well, Oculus will just have to put out the algorithm for the developers. The developers can't be expected to figure everything out. So if there is an algorithm for the hand movements,
it would be helpful if they provided something like that, or if an individual developer figures out a really good way of doing that, he can share it as well.
Oh, I don't care who develops it, right? As long as it's developed, it's
right,
fine.
right, exactly.
But I think maybe when you put up the description of this episode on YouTube, you should put it in that Brad and Josh discuss Echo Arena versus every other game and compare it to every facet of technology existing in the Quest today.
Maybe.
This really was sort of a Echo versus the world episode.
True. You've got a good point there. I mean, they have done a great job on that, but I have to say, this also gives me great hope for Onward coming to the Quest, because one of the biggest concerns that one of the competitors and one of the casters, he does both, that I met at the XR conference a couple years ago, or last year or whatever. One of his big concerns is that in Onward you have to do a lot of reaching behind you for the gun or pulling out the backpack or whatever, and I mean, Echo's got that working.
Right.
Also, in Virtual Battlegrounds, I have to reach over and grab the backpack to pull out an apple to restore my health or whatever. Mm-hmm. That works just fine, as long as I'm not like. And then because then it'll lose tracking. But if you just go back there, grab, pull it out, even without the Echo Arena magic, it works just fine.
Right.
So yeah. So I'm looking forward to Onward coming out as well. And who knows, maybe it'll pull people away from Echo at that point.
I guess it depends on the price point.
Multiplayer game stealing all the people.
Well, that wouldn't be so bad right now. We could have a few multiplayer games that you have to decide between. That would be nice.
Yeah. So anyways, that brings us to a wrap. Let's see. I got nothing. I'm going to try to come up with a rap, but my mind went blank.
Well, we already did our eye thing at the beginning, so we'll consider that like a pre-rap.
Well, no, I mean a rap like like Eminem or Macklemore or whatever.
Okay. Well, if you come up with a good one, we'll use it next week.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Fun. Enjoy Echo Arena. Consider the other games as well.
Please. The developers
and have fun. And remember, don't let kids VR. unless they know how to VR responsibly and play with others without grabbing them in inappropriate ways and having to be shoved off and then punched in the head.
Okay.